News Talk 829.33 FM WBAP. Are you with me, people? Are you with me? Yeah? No? All right, fine. No, look, I'm already exhausted from the summer. My kids got out of school. Their last day of school was yesterday. Uh, how long till school's back on? Can we go ahead and start that countdown now? So we'll get to a little more Memorial Day prep throughout the show, but I want to start with something that kind of breaks your heart. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bum you out. This will just make you appreciate your Memorial Day weekend a little bit better. I ended the show with this yesterday. I got so much good feedback. I know most of the people listening now didn't hear it. So I want to start the show uh, for you with this. And it's about Scott Adams. Does that name ring a bell? He's the guy that created Dilbert, the comic strip, the office guy. Super funny dude. And I don't know if you had noticed, if you're terminally online like I am, he's turned into quite the political animal in the last few years. Kind of been one of the heroes of the MAGA movement, especially on Twitter and some of these other social media platforms. It's almost like an elder statesman, like a dad. He's the guy that gives out advice and is sort of calm when other people are having a freak out. And we learned something very sad about our friend over the weekend. Actually, I found out about it Monday. He's not going to be with us very long. I know, sad stuff. Turns out he has the exact same cancer that Biden has. Now, that's why he made the announcement on Monday to try and give his perspective on, how this story, the official story, seems kind of flimsy. Like he just turned around and after a month, he has full blown stage 4 prostate cancer that's metastasized to his bones. So let me play that story for you, and then the follow up will just break your heart. Hang on a second. Okay, so caught a lot of people off guard, especially if you're a fan and you follow him. One person that is a fan of Scott Adams and did notice President Trump. Now check this out. That's a good dude right there. You know, it's one thing if you go try and butter up a famous guy with a big following and a lot of Twitter followers who can help influence you for public opinion or the next election or maybe for donations. But when the guy's checking out in 2 months and he can't do you any more good, for you to still care is a surefire sign that you're not a sociopath. You're not a bad guy. You're a decent human being who, despite the flaws that all human beings has true empathy toward his fellow man, and you're not just running around using people for their immediate benefits and then discarding them when you're done with them. I thought that was a beautiful story. I thought that was a good example, a good illustration of who Trump really is. And whether you agree with him or disagree with him, come on, man, he's not literally Hitler. So I hope I'm that cool, calm, and collected when my card gets pulled and it's time for me to check out of this domain, like Scott Adams is. I thought that was pretty manly too. I got to admit, I'm scared to death of dying. I don't even like to think about it. And I think I would be a basket case if I was in his situation. I hope God gives me the fortitude to handle it like he is. And I also hope to God that I have friends like Trump who will be there in my last couple of months, whether I can help them out or not. All right, sorry to bring you down on a Friday there to start off the show. But coming up next, let's get into some local news because apparently we have an issue with conflict resolution in this society, and this isn't like a Dallas thing or a North Texas thing, or this is across Western civilization, apparently, at least across America. And we'll talk about where is this coming from and how do we fix it. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Not you. Well, hey there. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show. I am your host, James Parker, on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. If you've got any help for me to understand what the heck's going on here, 800-288-9227. We just had a rash of weird violence around DFW lately. And it's not really that weird in the fact that, okay, we live in a metropolitan area of 8 million people. Some of them are going to be hotheads that pop off. But when you try and link these stories together, you start to notice some of the same overlaps. And kudos to the writer over at Dallas Express who was putting some of these stories together. And I thought that was an interesting angle to take on it. Let's start with what happened yesterday morning, 11:30 a.m., South Hills Elementary School. We're in Fort Worth over there. And two parents got into what's described as a verbal altercation. And the only thing we know about the lead up to this is it says two parents who had past verbal altercations began arguing in the school's parking lot. They're at a 5th grade graduation. Understand you. 5th grade. And a 28-year-old, Keyshawn, pulled out a knife and stabbed another parent. He was arrested a few blocks away from campus, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. No students were hurt. But this was during 5th grade graduation. And you can't either. I can't imagine a scenario and whatever words could be exchanged that would cause me to stab somebody at my kid's 5th grade graduation. This is 11:30 a.m. on a Thursday. You're not nearly as shocked by crime when it happens at 2:30 in the morning on an overnight Saturday night in Deep Ellum or one of the other likely suspects. But would you expect for there to be some safety concerns at an elementary school graduation before noon on a Thursday? And before we try and answer the question, what words could possibly be exchanged that would be a stabbing? Well, it sounds familiar. It sounds like the other big stabbing that was in the news last month. Continuing into this month, Carmelo Anthony stabbing Austin Metcalf at the Frisco track meet. The only thing that led up to that was words, and either he grabbed his arm or he pushed him, but that's it. Apparently for some people, that's good enough for a stabbing. And I don't just mean Carmelo Anthony. I mean all his defenders online in the comment section and whatnot, which is crazy because you saw the Congresswoman who's now being charged grab a police officer's arm or an ICE detention facility worker's arm, a security officer's their arm, and push him. Did she deserve to get stabbed in the heart? No, they don't even want her charged with a misdemeanor for that one. But let's go ahead and roll this into some other stories here. Overnight last night, actually this morning at about 2:30 a.m., that's kind of why 2:30 was on my mind. We're told by witnesses in a report that I read on one of the local TV station websites that two guys got in an argument about 2:30 in the morning. There were other people there. They calmed them down. They thought they had de-escalated the situation. But one of the guys goes out to his car, gets a gun, shoots him. His condition unknown. Okay. Let's roll that in with the Wilmer Hutchins situation. Remember that school shooting about a month or almost 2 months ago now? Some kid came in because he had a pre-existing beef with some other student. And he shot him. Just brought a gun to school, snuck in the side door. hunted him down, shot him, accidentally hitting like 3 other people. This is over words. We didn't hear the story from the shooter guy that he had gotten beaten up or he had his life threatened or someone pointed a gun at him first and he was trying to defend himself. He wasn't in a terrible situation and that he had to shoot his way out. He brought a gun when he was totally safe and brought it into the situation. Just generally speaking, when you roll all these together, a lot of people say, well, we have a problem with gun violence in the United States. No, because a couple of these are stabbings, like 3 of them are stabbings. It's not the gun, it's not the knife, it's not the weapon. It's the human being that is willing to take another human being's life over words, over being disrespected. And I think if we can get to the core of that problem, we don't have to worry about whether or not we have a gun-free zone at the state fair or whether or not someone has a knife in their bag at a track meet. It's not the weapon. It's that some people are raising kids to think that it's okay to kill somebody for saying the wrong thing, for disrespecting, for threatening. Now, if it's an actionable threat where someone is brandishing a gun and pointing it at you and saying, I'm going to kill you in 5, 4, 3, 2, and you actually defend yourself at that point, okay, totally understandable. But this is not what we're looking at. Where does this come from? What do we do about it? Because the problem isn't the weapon, it's not the gun, it's not the knife, it's not that there wasn't a gun-free zone or a knife-free zone or wherever these people were supposed to be. There's no law or regulation that can fix this. This is a human being problem. What would your solution be? Where would you start? I have some ideas. I'll share it with you next. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. But I think I'm going to need your help with this one. So give me a call. What do you think is the problem and what do you think is the solution? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. What's too cool? Thank you. Heavens. Please don't let him bark. What was that noise? Oh, we have callers. Look at this. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. Happy Friday. I'm your host, James Parker, on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. We're just having a serious chat here because we have a real problem with conflict resolution. And the reason why this is a problem is because you would like to be able to avoid the violence that you see in the news. And you think, well, if I just, stay in a decent neighborhood and not hang around, criminals or crazy people, and I can, not hanging out in the bad parts of town at 3 a.m. trying to buy crack or getting caught up in the drug game, you can stay safe. But when people are getting stabbed at track meets and stabbed at an elementary school graduation and shot because they got a fast food order wrong. That was another story that I didn't even play the audio from it yet. Then it's really hard to avoid it if you have to share a society with people that you have to interact with that have such poor conflict resolution skills. And I think we need to have the grown-up conversation because it's not going to be had in the media. They're just going to tell you, well, it's the guns. You got to do something about the guns. Are scary. We have a gun violence problem. No, it's not the guns because we're seeing it. People hit each other with cars and people beat each other with fists and people stab each other. So it's not the weapons, it's the willingness to commit deadly violence over words, which is something that most of us just can't even fathom. So the question becomes, well, what do we do about it? Well, there's a two-pronged approach. You can either treat the symptoms of the disease and the disease itself. I'm sure everyone wants to do both, but the symptom one is obvious. The symptom one, once we have these people who get stabby or murderous over words they find disrespectful, we find these people and we put them in jail and we don't let them out on bail. And when we sentence them, find them guilty, we put them in jail for a very long time, if not for the rest of their life. And once they're in jail, don't let them out and they won't do this again. But that's still after the fact, Perhaps once they're in jail, if they're going to get out, maybe there's more we can do to rehabilitate them, but that's not going to do a whole lot. I do also like the idea that this is, could be combated from a cultural standpoint to where society just has to reject the malignant cultural values that are telling people it's okay to be violent, whether it's in movies or music or celebrities or I don't know. There is some people that think that's a justifiable solution. If someone disrespects you or makes you get out of their tent at a track meet, stab them in the heart. But none of this is the root cause. And a lot of people don't want to talk about the root cause because there is no easy answer to this. There is no government fix. You can't just go have people in Austin or DC pass a law and then feel safe. This isn't a government solution. Because the root cause, and if you've been listening to the show, you already know what I'm going to say. I bet you Garrett knows what I'm going to say. Fatherless homes. That's where it all starts. I know, newsflash to a lot of people. Well, I know you agree with that. You listen to the show every day, Garrett. But look, for new people to the show, let's go over the stats every time this comes up, because there's so many issues where the root problem is fatherless homes, whether it's behavior in schools or school grades or drug addiction or prostitution or so many of these other problems. The root cause is so often the fact that you are not born in wedlock and you're not raised in a home by your biological parents. Here's some statistics. Children brought up in single mother homes 5 times more likely to commit suicide, 9 times more likely to drop out of high school, 10 times more likely to abuse chemical substances, 14 times more likely to commit rape for the boys, 20 times more likely to end up in prison, 32 times more likely to run away from home. Fatherless boys are about twice as likely to have spent some time in jail before they reach the age of 30. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless children are from fatherless homes. 85% of children with behavior disorders are from fatherless homes. You hearing me on this? You hearing me? So yeah, another one that puts the blame on fatherless homes. I'm thinking we need to start like reframing some of this. Because you hear about toxic masculinity, or what's the problem with all these kids? Well, the father's not there. Let's flip the script a little bit. We're always hearing about the patriarchy and when men in charge and toxic masculinity and this terrible things happen. It's a horrible way to run your society. No, what seems to be failing us are the households and the societies that are primarily run by women. So I think a big problem here, whether it's drugs or school discipline or your grades or homelessness or unemployment or violence, it's the matriarchy. And I think that's what we're going to start doing here. We're not going to blame fatherless homes or bastard children or out of wedlock births. We're going to blame the matriarchy. How does that make you feel? 800-288-9227. To the phones we go. This is Timothy in Allen. You're on the James Show, WBAP. What do you think, Timothy? Wait, whose culture is that? Whose culture is the F your feelings? I don't know. Is this all right? You're funny. Serious? Are you pulling my chain? Or are you being serious? Wait. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Hang on a second. Y'all, I swear to God, Timothy is not a plant caller. This is not a joke. I didn't pay him to come in and say this ridiculous stuff. This is a guy that I don't know who's actually. You are being serious, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Timothy, you're going to have to stop because no one's going to believe you're a real caller. Timothy, did someone pull a gun on Kyle Rittenhouse? Did someone knock him down and chase him down the street when he was trying to he was running to get away, and they smacked him upside the head with a skateboard? You didn't see any of that? All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Tim. Yeah, turn him down. Is the violence happening in right-wing America? How is this a problem with the Tea Party in right-wing America? The violence isn't happening in right-wing America. It's not happening in red neighborhoods. It's not happening in red districts. It's not happening in red constituencies. The problem of violence, we're not talking about red state America having the problem of violence. Go look at a map of the last electoral results, and then go look at a heat map of where the crime is. And the worst crime, the violent crime, is overwhelmingly a problem within blue state America. And blue state America is only 17% of the geography of America. You know, in about 70% of the counties in America, there is 0 or 1 murders per year, which means murder is almost unheard of in most of America. And what direction do you think these people vote? No, we do not have a problem with violence. And of all the things you can blame on red state America, this is probably the last one you can blame. It's not, oh yeah, we have people that are shooting each other in black neighborhoods in all the major cities on a daily basis. And this guy comes away with the problem. We've got to do something about those right wingers. Are you kidding me? It's not happening where right wingers are in power, and it's not happening in their neighborhoods. What are you talking about? Is it my fault that they're having kids out of wedlock? Is it Pat Buchanan's fault that fathers are running away? Who is making them do that? How does white America have so much power over black America that we can affect their family structure, that we're the reason that they're having problems? And it's not just specifically white people. Those whites and black people, those numbers about fatherless homes, they persist, even if it's a white household, Hispanic household, whatever. So this isn't a race thing. This is a out of wedlock birth thing. This is a not being raised by your biological mom and dad thing. It's not even a right versus left thing. It's not. I'm not even blaming all of left, because like in Vermont and Maine, they are overwhelmingly left wing, but they don't have this problem. They're dominated by Democrats. They're run by Democrats, Democrat constituency, Democrat voters. But you know what they don't have? They don't have 71% of their children being born out of wedlock. So let's not insert race into this. And let's not even insert politics into this. This is a familial cultural construct that is broken down, that is the genesis of this problem. 800-288-9227. Got some other good callers lined up if you want to get in line. 800-288-9227. We have a real problem with conflict resolution, the willingness to commit deadly violence over words. What do we do about it? We'll continue on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Thank you. That guy was serious though, right? All right, well then we'll do RT. I don't know. See if anyone calls back, and if they don't call in a minute or two, just call RT. That goober probably spawns more calls though. Well, I'm glad he went first. I'm going to go grab a Dr. Pepper. I'll be right back. get back on the radio. Well, hey there. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Just digging into some of the local news has me concerned that we have a real problem with conflict resolution in our modern society. Not all of us seem to have it, but it's enough that, whatever happened to sticks and stones might break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And Timothy calls in. It's like, you know what it is? It started with the Tea Party, those right wingers, and you're just so hateful. Oh, really? That's where we're having the problems? No, like when right wingers get together, do things catch fire? Is that what happens? Has there ever been a guy in a Trump hat and a MAGA hat that pulled up on a party and started spraying bullets in the driveway? Does that happen? What are you talking about? What level of offense? Stop listening to MSNBC. Stop watching Handmaid's Tale. You are way off your rocker. Does anyone on earth have a real solution for this or just some advice? 800-288-9227. I was making the case that this is all traceable back. Now, you'll never get 100% of crazy people or violence out of society, but we had less of it when more of us were born in wedlock. And it seems to be a lot of these maladies, societal maladies, seem to be concentrated in the households that depart from the traditional values of a biological mother and father raising the kids together in the same household. Now, it's not a foolproof direction to go, but it sure seems to be better than the matriarchy. Steve and Alan, you're next up on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think, Steve? Timmy. it's not us. Well, there's it goes a little deeper than that because the trans people that are wanting to go into bathrooms, they don't stab people in the heart. They don't pull out a gun and shoot someone in the backyard at 2:30 in the morning in Fort Worth. The trans aren't the ones that are doing this. But yeah, I get the general point you're making. Well, I know that's one, but it's not like an epidemic that is happening every day in every major American city. Thank you very much. That's the great Steve and Alan. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. What I don't like about this argument is even if you agree with me and you're like, yeah, out of wedlock births, not being raised by your mom and dad, we need more dads in the home. How do you do that? Like there's not a law you can pass. We just have to kind of decide as a society that we're not going to tolerate that anymore. Remember in the none of us, I don't think any of us are old enough to remember when divorce was seen as like a taboo subject. But I remember the Johnny Cash movie Walk the Line when June Carter was like in the store and people were whispering, "Oh, there she is. She's divorced." And she wasn't allowed around polite society. We used to not tolerate divorce. And it seemed at the time like that's a little closed minded. People are going to have bad marriages. People are going to get divorced. You don't need to kick them in the teeth over it. Ugh, maybe we want to rethink that position because, society pressuring people to stay together for the kids seemed to work a little better than what we have now, doesn't it? Coming up next, our teacher Vino from the Crude Truth podcast is going to talk about we have the cheapest gas for Memorial Day weekend in years, but are we going to see your gas prices go up during the summer driving season? Find out next on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Lee Richardson at 3:15, right? Okay. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, I know. Good to see you, too. I'm your host, James Parker. Got some good news for you. Gas, the price of gas, set for their cheapest Memorial Day since 2021. How on earth did that happen? My next guest probably has some good insight to it. It's RT Trevino from the Crude Truth podcast, also an oil and gas expert at Pecos Country Energy. Give it up for RT coming back on the show. Yeah, welcome back, RT. Yeah, well, I think the studio audience is just in a good mood because it's Friday. But explain to me, how do we have the cheapest Memorial Day gasoline in 4 years? I haven't thought about that crash in a long time, but I imagine you were referring to what happened. Was that 2020 or 2021 when we had to, some guy with the oil tanker had to pay people to take it off of his hands. And that was for the brief moment, oil actually went negative there. Kind of an aberration, but when was that? Well, that's not good for us around here in Texas. That's kind of too cheap. RT Trevino, Crew Truth Podcast. Can we expect low prices through the summer driving season? Well, that all sounds super positive. What's the price of oil about right now? So let's talk about. I asked you on a previous episode if you had watched Landman, and you said you hadn't. Have you got a chance to check that out yet? Because it's right up your alley, RT. Mm-hmm. Man, I have so many questions about that because, of course, it's a work of fiction, but there's enough oil industry references that I just want to bounce it off of you and ask you, how legit this show is because it sure has made the oil industry and working in the oil patch not sexy, but I don't know, kind of more interesting than you expected. Well, I don't think everyone's wife is going to look like Billy Bob Thornton's wife in that show, but it shows a nice hard scrabble blue collar life that actually pays really well and kind of makes me think, if I get canceled, I might go out there to the oil patch. Yeah, I'm from out here in East Texas in Bug Tussle, and I think about maybe 1 out of 10, or at the lowest, maybe 1 out of 20 of my friends from high school work in some oil related industry right now. So it's huge out here. It's quite celebrated. What's coming up next on the Crude Truth podcast, RT? Yeah, you do. Hmm. All right, our teacher Vino, thanks for coming back on, and thanks for the good news about gas being cheap for Memorial Day weekend. Hope to talk to you soon, and let me know. I'll be on your show anytime. All right, coming up next, horrible news. Billy Joel had to cancel some concerts for health reasons, something going on with his brain, I believe. So, my next guest is going to speak a little more intelligently about that. Lee Richardson from the Brain Performance Center. What's going on with Billy Joel next on The James Show? News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. Today, I did what I've been telling you to do for months now. I called Blue Ribbon Roofing and had a free roof inspection. And look, it was super easy. He was only on my roof, I think, for about 20 minutes. But this is a guy who's been doing roofs for 31 years. So, like, when he's walking up, just putting the ladder up against the side of my roof, he just kind of glances at the shingles and he said, "Oh yeah, this is I don't even know the company, the brand, the actual name of the color, which had like 4 words in it. Like he recognized my shingles at a distance by sight immediately. Like this guy knew everything about the roof by standing on it for about just a few minutes, really. And then he came down and we had a long chat about how old he thinks my roof is because I have no idea. I just bought this house 3 years ago. I did have an issue with the gables that was brought up on my home inspection. That he gave me a quote on it. Now it's not the final quote. He was just kind of spitballing it there, but it was cheaper than I expected. And that was it. I mean, the whole thing really. And if we didn't hang out and chat, and we actually went to lunch after that, it probably would have taken 40 minutes total. But when he shows up, you get a folder with a bunch of material in it and sort of an explanation on different shingles and your options should you need some work done, and a little more information about the company and their history. And so it was all taken care of. It was taken care of super quick. It didn't cost me anything. And actually, I have to talk to Miss Parker about the repairs. But if she thinks everything's okay, we can have this done in just a few days. Now, I'm not going to need to jump in on the insurance stuff, but he also let me in on another secret of the pros. When you call your insurance company to get them to help you pay for your new roof, they give you a completely different phone number than they give John Hopkins at Blue Ribbon Roofing. He calls someone else and goes ahead and skips to level 3 in the insurance claims process, which is why he has an easier time doing it than you ever will. Why? Because he's done this thousands of times. And I got to see a fish swimming in water, basically. So if you're looking for someone to fix your roof or at least check it out to make sure you don't have any problems, start with Blue Ribbon Roofing, blueribbondfw.com. Do what I did, call John Hopkins, blueribbondfw.com. Sorry about that. Yeah. That's kind of my fault. I don't worry about it. Thank you, sir. Hydrocephalus. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Terrible news. Billy Joel had to cancel some concerts here because of a condition, normal pressure hydrocephalus. What is that? I'm not going to pretend to know. That's why we asked our next guest to come on, Lee Richardson from the Brain Performance Center on the James Show. Welcome back, Lee. What does this mean? Normal pressure hydrocephalus. So, what do we think caused this in Billy Joel? Yeah, I noticed on this Fox News article, it said that it could have been exacerbated by his performances. What, the singing hard affect your brain fluid? Yeah, and I'm trying to read up on the situation with Billy Joel. It sounds like a lot of these symptoms could match like Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that. Is this something that could be affecting uh, former President Biden too? Lee Richardson, Brain Performance Center. What are some of the treatments for what Billy Joel has? You just drill a little hole in his head and let it leak out? Oh, so it's only a slight joke then. All right. Is there anything we can do to lessen our likelihood of developing this? Is this something you expect a full recovery from, or is this a chronic condition that you have to manage from here on out? All right. Well, that's good news. Thank you very much. This is Lee Richardson from the Brain Performance Center in Dallas. I appreciate your insight on Billy Joel's condition. And I want to ask you, why does this make us so sad? I mean, I don't know Billy Joel. In fact, Billy Joel's a little before my time. But still, when you see a guy that you kind of feel like you know, and he's not doing so well, You know, the connection we have, or we think we have, with some of these people, I find that profound. Like, I'm a guy who's like, celebrities aren't any more important than anyone else. But I got to admit, when I see some of these guys who seem like nice people and they're suffering, it makes me sad. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm going to try and explain why I think we feel these bonds with people that we really don't know, coming up next. But your theories are welcome too. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Right. Sad by proxy. Go to the bathroom. Be right back. What is it, Matt? You need to come in here, Matt? I don't think you do, Matt. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So some sad news, especially if you're a Billy Joel fan. He said to cancel some of his tour, his latest round of concerts, because he's having a brain issue, a health issue, 76 years old. So you're getting into sort of that territory where if you have a health issue, you kind of worry about it, right? But why do we worry? Why do we care so much about these people we've never met? So he sang some songs. We don't know him. Why do we feel stronger about him than, I don't know, any other random person from, where's he from, New Jersey? I don't know. I really don't. I tell you, I'm not a Billy Joel fan. He's a little before my time, but I know his songs. I know Piano Man and Uptown Girl, Garrett. I'm just saying, like, he was popular. That was before I was paying attention. I think I was like 4 when Uptown Girl came out. I really don't know. But I got to tell you, especially for the celebrities or musicians from like my era, uh, I do feel a connection to them. Now, it's not as strong as some other people. A lot of people take it way too far. I remember way back in the day, I was working in a TV station in a newsroom when Michael Jackson died. What was that, 2008 or 2009 or something? Oh, you remember? Garrett remembers that one. But I remember seeing the news because there was a bit of a debate for a second there because all the networks were reporting that Michael Jackson's been taken to the hospital. TMZ was reporting that he's dead. And so I was trying to convince the people in the newsroom, go ahead and report that he's dead. TMZ's usually right about stuff like that. And they're like, come on, TMZ. I don't trust them. Turned out they were right. But there was a conversation I remember having with this lady named Linda, who I looked and she was literally crying. Now, she wasn't like ugly face crying, but she had tears rolling out of both of her eyes. Like, Linda, you gonna be all right? And she's like, I grew up with him. And I said, Linda, you're from Gary, Indiana? She's like, no, I'm from here, but I feel like I grew up with him. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. And so we kind of conflate these things. Now, let me put a little caveat on here. I can understand if you're wildly in love with me. No, I'm just kidding. But like talk show hosts, where you listen to us for hours a day, for years at a time, you really do start to know them. You really do kind of know me if you listen to the James Show. You really did know Rush Limbaugh if you listened to him for years and years and years. You know, you knew his wife's name, you knew his background. Sometimes you'd have his brother on the show, David. So, you know, there's a little more of a connection with the people who you just have to listen to us talk for 3 hours a day. But Billy Joel, I mean, how many interviews could you have possibly seen with this guy? What do you know about him personally? He was married to Christy Brinkley for a while. He has a daughter that scarily looks a lot like him. But I really don't know a whole lot of biography, but it does. It kind of brings me down. And I think this is a lot of subconscious here. You don't know Billy Joel. He didn't come to your graduation. He didn't go to your soccer games when you were in high school. He didn't come to your kid's birthday party. But he was playing in the background. You have heard him at pretty much every wedding reception you've been to in your entire life. You have heard his songs at the piano bar whenever you go to like the Improv in Addison, and then afterwards you go to across the hallway to the piano bar, or whenever you're at on a cruise ship and they have the piano bar, or when you go to Bourbon Street, New Orleans, there's a piano bar, and you hear Billy Joel. I think you subconsciously get these little thumbtacks put in your memory where you associate the song could just be in the background. You might not even know that you're listening to Billy Joel, but he really is. Just hearing the music, the man is feels like he's a part of your life. And I think that's a good sign that you're not a sociopath. 800-288-9227. This is Donna in Dallas. You're on WBAP. What do you think about the Billy Joel situation? Yeah. Now, do you feel this way about all famous artists that you like, or just a select few? Okay. Wow. Well, I also feel that in the reverse, how when I was a junior in high school and I was dating Amy from art, that I had the R. Kelly tape in my car for about 3 months, and she said to me one day, she's like, "You need to get some new tapes," because I only had like four. But it didn't bother me because he was a fantastic singer. I love the subject matter which he sings about. It appeals to any teenage boy. But boy, I cut all that off when I saw the tapes where he got himself in trouble and that was being passed around the internet. Like it goes in reverse too. You can cut someone off. I don't think there's nearly as many Puff Daddy fans as there was a year ago. Well, I've also look here's another conundrum. I will. When I was growing up, my grandmother was a big fan of Bill Cosby. She had his records, and she even had a VHS tape of, and she had his two books. And I remember reading Fatherhood several times, sitting at my grandmother's house after school. I want my kids to read that book and like digest it because there's some really good, wholesome values in that book, and it is funny. And I want them to go ahead and read that before they find out he's one of the biggest rapists in American history. Yeah. Well, if you do that for every celebrity, I think there's something wrong with you. But if you do that for zero celebrities, I think there's something wrong with you. Right? Of course not. No, no, that's what I'm saying. You sound like you're in the middle, like most of us. Like if you don't think that about any celebrity, then you might be a sociopath. If you think that about every celebrity, then you're a little okay. Well, I don't know, and I feel like the older I get, the younger 76 sounds. Right? Yeah. I was born in 77, but you're super close there. All right. Good call, Donna. Thank you very much. Sorry about Neil Diamond, too. I know that still probably hurts. Thank you, Donna. All right. Coming up next, we got to talk about what's happening with the economy here. The big, beautiful bill looks like it may be passed in mostly its current form. And we've talked a lot about what does that do for the budget or what does that do for Medicare and Medicaid. But my next guest is going to fill you in on what does this mean for your money. Bill Dindy, the financial strategist, next on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 829.33 FM, WBAP. Garrett, I don't see my next guest. Is he there? Okay. In the meantime, let's talk to Justin in St. Joe. You're on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think, Justin? Okay, I knew people. Billy Joel had to cancel the rest of his tour. He has some brain condition that sounds kind of serious and it has us concerned, but why are we concerned? Justin, go ahead. Yes. Well, also in hindsight, that stadium sucked. You realize that, Jim? When you go to games there, and it was like if it was 95 outside, it'd be 105 inside, and I felt like that place was just miserable the few times I went. Yeah. Well, no, Texas Stadium's a great example because sometimes you were in a 105-degree game. Sometimes you got to see some snow coming through the little hole in the top, and Leon let goose the kick against Miami and screws it up. Uh, I remember one time when I went to Texas Stadium, probably like the second time I went there, my older sister was going to a New Kids on the Block concert, so me and my mom had to drop her off, and then we ended up like sneaking in later because no one was watching the door. So yeah, we even get these familial attachments to objects. Yeah. What? Tell me about St. Joe. Are y'all small enough to have six-man football? Yes, but this is how if someone's from Bug Tussle, this is how we identify other Bug Tussles. If you're in a six-man football, you have more rural cred than I do, right? Well, of course you do. Everyone has it. If you don't have enough people to play, you just play six man. And Justin, I think there's a lot of people who are just finding out right now that six-man football exists when that's quite a normal thing out in the middle of nowhere. But hey, thanks for the chat. You made some good points. Appreciate it, Justin. All right, there's my guest. Bill Dindy's coming back on the James Show because I wanted to ask you, Bill Dindy, with all the talk about the big, beautiful bill, it's been mostly a political angle from either side, but I wanted to ask a financial guy, how will this affect the economy, you think, Bill? My concern is the excess deficit spending is going to make more money be printed, inflate the money supply, and so yeah, we'll have more money to spend. But when the spending power of that dollar goes down, unless you're one of the people getting the subsidies, wouldn't you be worse off? All right, Bill Dindy, you're a lot more optimistic than I am. I kind of appreciate the happy words there. Let's revisit this whenever the final version passes, so we can actually talk brass tacks. But I appreciate your input on the James Show. Find Bill Dindy, a local financial advisor. He's pretty easy to find online. Alicorn, is that your gig? Thank you. All right, have a good Memorial Day weekend. Coming up next, we have another attack where the guy's a Free Palestine guy. And no matter what Free Palestine meant originally, I think it's become a slogan urging violent attacks. This is now hate speech, in my view. I'll make my case next, but what do you think? 800-288-9227 is Free Palestine hate speech. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. No problem, dude. No problem. On purpose? I'm gonna run to the restroom. Be right back. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, I got some weird updates on the latest pro-Palestinian act of violence and terrorism. The story from a couple days ago is two young people in their 20s who are staffers at the Israeli embassy were leaving some event by the American Jewish Coalition or something to that effect. And a pro-Palestinian guy sneaks up behind him on the crosswalk, shoots them multiple times until his gun runs out of bullets. Well, the guy's not moving anymore, but the girl's trying to crawl away and save herself. He calmly ejects the magazine, reloads the gun, and continues shooting her until she's dead. He's immediately stopped by bystanders, and he lets them know, I did this for Palestine. Free Palestine. Here's the quote. Allegedly, I did it for Palestine. I did it for Gaza. I am unarmed. And then when he was being taken away by cops, someone pulled out their cell phone video and got this little gem here. All right, you dude on the side is saying from Hamas, you're not helping any. But how many acts of violence have to happen before we start questioning the pro-Palestinian people, the pro-Palestinian activists? You know, there's a terrible war that's going on right now between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza. But you don't see any Jewish students that are camping out on campus and holding up mean signs and breaking the law. You don't see Jewish students and protesters that are blocking Palestinians from going to class. But you do see the inverse. You do see the law being broken over 1,000 times by Palestinian protesters. It's like, James, don't exaggerate. No, here's an AP rundown. What's the date on this? October 18th, 2024. So I'm sure the number's higher now. But you want to go take a guess how many pro-Palestinian demonstrators got arrested over the year? It's easy. 2,100. 2,100. So more than 2,000 people have been arrested during pro-Palestinian protests just at college campuses across the United States in just a few months. And we cut that date off back in October. So I'm sure it's more by now. And they're starting it back up again. So who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? Are there any Israelis? Are there any Jewish people who are shooting Palestinians or their supporters in the back in America? Or anywhere else besides Gaza? Besides the active war zone? No, we don't have any civilian terror attacks like that. It's all one way. This is an issue that it almost makes me want to pull my hair out. Like, how obvious could it be who the good guys are in this conflict? Because it doesn't just stop there. There have been all kinds of violence. I mean, you can just go look, go Google or go to DuckDuckGo or whatever your preferred search engine is. Type in pro-Palestinian violence, and you can see a whole lot of them. It happens in Berlin. It happens in Los Angeles. We had the protests in UT Dallas that got shut down pretty quick. There's a story here about some poor bastard who's a filmmaker who got himself mobbed and beat because he was holding a U.S. flag at a pro-Palestinian protest. And it's not just violence. It's not just them stopping Jewish kids from going to class in Columbia and a bunch of other campuses. They're blocking roads. They're trying to block the entrance to airports. They tried to block it to Love Field last year, and our mayor has a pair, shut it down immediately. But how many terror attacks have to happen? How many acts of violence and intimidation have to happen before we start considering Free Palestine to be associated with terrorism? And I know a lot of people are scared to say that because, I don't want to be called racist. What? How is this a race thing? The guy that did the shooting, Elias, his name's Elias. What's his last name? Rodriguez? Does that sound Islamic to you or Arabic or anything other than that's a Hispanic name? So it doesn't seem to matter what your race is. If you get caught up in this ideology, it seems like you have a tendency to do some crazy, violent, immoral things. I guarantee you, if we have this many terror attacks with Allahu Akbar, or pro-Palestine or free Palestine or something about the Jews, if we had, and you exchange those slogans with anything else, we would be asking bigger questions. If we had someone who just murdered 2 people in the back and they yelled "Roll Tide" while they were getting arrested, you and I would be having a conversation about the University of Alabama and their supporters. What's going on? Why does this keep happening over and over and over? How many airports must be blocked? How many people must be arrested? How many acts of violence? How many filmmakers need to be up? How many people need to be shot in the back and executed in a public street before we have this question? Well, this conversation needs to happen soon. Sooner the better. We need to get in front of this one. First thing we need to start doing is recognizing that people who are yelling free, free Palestine need to be met with skepticism immediately. And if you are a pro-Palestinian person, you need to be shouting this down just as loud as you're shouting down the violence against the kids in Gaza. But you're not, are you? You don't have the facts on your side. You don't have morality on your side. You have fear, violence, intimidation to try and further your point. And the other side doesn't do that. Therefore, as an independent third party who's neither Muslim nor Jewish, neither Palestinian nor Israeli, it's pretty easy for me to pick which side I prefer to win in this one. It's the ones that aren't shooting Americans in the back. It's the ones that aren't blocking highways, aren't protesting, aren't beating up people for having an American flag. And back in their little home countries where they're chanting "Death to America," that's a no-no too. Why are we so scared to have this conversation? What are we worried about? Because if we have this conversation, next time we bring up the epic city or the Sharia cities that they're trying to build here in North Texas or across the Lone Star State, that conversation is going to be over real quick. Oh, what problem do you have with letting these people have their own areas? Well, because heads get sawed off, because people get shot in the back, because terror attacks happen. I'm not saying this because I'm racist or I'm even inherently anti-Muslim. But the people who are farther down that path have a pretty steady pattern of violence and intimidation for their cause. And that, my friends, is terrorism. If you're saying pro-Palestine, free Palestine, you are saying a terrorist chant. You are either supporting terrorists or are incredibly naive. So what do you think? Is pro-Palestine, should that be considered hate speech? Should that be considered a sign of terrorism? Or is that just some people who are concerned about the well-being of poor, oppressed Palestinians in Gaza? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. So we don't have to redo it? Is that what you're saying? You get a drink, be right back. Top of the hour is going to happen at 5 o'clock. Top of the hour is when the clock is in zeros. So 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. At the top, the beginning of every hour. The theme. Oh, cool. Yeah. Hey, Garrett, you have the montage? Okay. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. It's Memorial Day weekend. Well, I guess technically for most people it starts in about 39 minutes. But for a lot of people, they're already kicking off early. I bet you your office isn't nearly as full as it is on a usual Friday. But how bad is it going to get for those of you traveling? I have some assistants coming here with Rob Himmler, Airport Communications and Marketing at DFW International Airport. Welcome to your first appearance on the James Show. Honored to have you, sir. All right, so how bad are we expecting it to be this Memorial Day for air travel? Oh, Rob, I didn't know that. I think I remember seeing a headline that there's some terminal that's being renovated, but that's blocking people that are going to other terminals. How does this compare to the busy travel season for Thanksgiving and Christmas? Is it more or less? Is there any truth to the idea that you could avoid some of this if you come home a day or two late, like maybe instead of Monday, like Tuesday or Wednesday? All right. Well, thanks for the Memorial Day update. This is Rob Himmler from DFW International Airport. Thank you, sir. Get to work. Safe travels, everybody. All right, next on the James Show, we're going to play Name That Artist for tickets to see Luke Bryan. He's going to be at Dos Equis Pavilion June 20th. If you want to go, do you know all 10 of these artists from mostly the 90s? That's not that simple. With you, always. All right. There's your montage. If you know all those artists, go ahead and call in right now, 800 288 9227, 800 288 9227. Then get a piece of paper and a pen or open a notepad file on your phone. We'll play the montage again on the other side of the break. Write in all the artists, and then when I go to you, you can just list them all out real quick and win these tickets to see Luke Bryan on June 20th. Name that artist next on the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. we had a problem, right? And this has nothing to do with skin color. This has something to do with behavior that's coming from a certain group of people, black people, that is not okay. Let me be the one to bring it to you. They're calling you the N-word and they're treating you like the N-word because you're acting like the N-word, okay? This is how you're acting. Even your own ancestors will be repulsed by your behavior. The disgusting behavior that is coming from you guys is absolutely repulsive, and I'm so tired of seeing you guys come across my screen doing the most absolutely animalistic things possible. It is disgusting. And you don't want to talk about the facts. You don't want to talk about how we need to fix the household and how we need to pay attention to the children, how we need to do better for ourselves. You want to blame white people. Go figure. You guys are completely disgusting. And I promise I will die on my feet talking about this before I die on my knees serving the degenerate behavior that is coming out of the black community. It is absolutely ridiculous. Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. I'm your host, James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. You caught us right in the middle of Name That Artist. Now, this is a tough one. I got to give Bruce the credit for making this montage. Oh, man, I think I knew all these songs, but I don't know if I would have gotten one of them, maybe two. I think just the fourth one I would have missed, but I think I would have gotten the rest of them. If you want to win tickets to go see Luke Bryan, he's coming up June 20th at the Dos Equis Pavilion. Do you know all of these 10 artists? Go. Okay. That's a tough one. If you want to get in line, 800 288 9227, 800 288 9227. Listen, all you don't have to get them all. You just have to do better than the next guy. Let's start with George in Haltom City. Hey, George, you ready to play some Name That Artist? All right, well, let's hear your shot. Ready? Go. Yes, tone low. Yes, sir. Amen, brother. They never told me what that last piece for. That's so rude. Anyway, go ahead. Oh man, you know what? That's pretty close. Go next one. You skipped one. You skipped another female artist. No. It wasn't Janet Jackson. That's really close. Anyway, go ahead with the rest of your list. Yes. 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 Yeah, not just Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul, a deep cut. That wasn't even one of her bigger hits. I remember Knocked Out. Yeah, I think my sister had that tape when I was in middle school. All right, you got 9 out of 10. I don't think there's anyone on hold who can beat that. Hell, let's just give it to you because it was Sheena Easton was the one where yeah, and it's the second I said that, and it wasn't Taylor Dane. It was Tara Kemp. So your full list. By the way, let's just go ahead and make it official. You're gonna win, sir. But here's the full list for everyone playing along in your car. Tone Loc, CNC Music Factory, Naughty by Nature, Tara Kemp, Sheena Easton. There's another little Tone Loc, let's do it, thrown in there, but we don't count that. PM Dawn, PM Dawn, Prince, Young MC, and Paula Abdul. Congratulations. George in Haltom City, you just won tickets to go see Luke Bryan, Dos Equis Pavilion, June 20th. For the rest of us, we have to go get our tickets at livenation.com. All right. Well played, sir. We're going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. Garrett will get your information, and then we email you the tickets because it's 2025, and we don't have hard tickets anymore. All right, coming up next on the James Show. Oh, quick reminder, the next James Show meetup, listener meet and greet, is going to be at Manny G's in Keller Tuesday, May 27th from 7 to 9. All right, so tell your friends, tell the other listeners, friends that you think would be interested in going. Tell your husband or your dad, because I know they probably think I'm funnier than you do. But Manny G's this coming Tuesday, like 4 days from now, 7 o'clock ish. Just depends on how long it takes me to get through traffic to get over there. Come on out, say hi, take a picture. Judge me based on my appearance. Have a lot of drinks, and we'll have a good time coming up Tuesday at the next James Show listener meet and greet. Now we're going to end the show before you step out into Memorial Day. I just wanted to leave you with a big smile on your face. How do you think The View is handling Jake Tapper's book that was exposing Biden's mental decline and the giant cover up around it? Yeah, well, it's even more unhinged than you think. We'll all laugh together next at The View's response to Jake Tapper's book on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. I was going to do it anyway. Dan Bongino. Hey, welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Before you get out of here for your Memorial Day weekend and you go have a bunch of fun, I wanted to end with something that I know you would love. This is so great. So The View, they were just as guilty as anybody else in the Biden cover-up of his mental decline. They were the ones out there cheerleading for him, just among the hardest, right? You didn't see, well, I should say it's hard to find a more hacky, pro-Democrat, pro-Biden show than The View. So how do they have this new information in Jake Tapper's book put in front of them? How do they rationalize this in their head? How do they solve the cognitive dissonance that happens when what you have been saying is true for the last 5 years turns out to not be true? Oh, this is hilarious. It's so great. So great. I got 2 clips for you. What do you think just guess, what do you think the excuse is? All right, let's see if you're correct. I have 2 clips for you. Let's go. Nothing? What level of fantasy world is this lady living in? All of the right-wing media sphere was just a volcano of criticizing Biden's mental decline from 2019 until last week. Where were you? We were in the right-wing media, ding dong. We're the ones that we were telling you. You were shouting us down. You were calling us terrible names. You're calling us literally Hitler. Turns out we were right. Where were all y'all? We were right here. We were on the James Show. We were on WBAP. Casey was saying it. The Morning Show was saying it. Dan Bongino was saying it before Vince was saying it. John Hannity was saying it. Glenn Beck was saying it. Clay and Buck. Everybody was saying it. You can't find one person in the right-wing ecosphere that wasn't saying it. To act like this is just new information. Why didn't they tell us? What'd you do? Lady, and even if nobody told you, you saw it yourself. I wasn't saying Biden's having a mental decline because I was parroting what other right-wing talk show hosts were saying. I was saying it because I saw the videos, because I saw a guy who was losing his train of thought, who was not the same Joe Biden that we had known our entire lives. It was not the same Joe Biden from the Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas hearings. It wasn't even the same Joe Biden from when he was vice president under Barack Obama. What do you mean, where were you? Here's the other clip before we get out of here. Too delicious, isn't it? Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Preach. Well, just let me know when he forgets when his own child dies or someone close to him dies. Let me know when he starts falling upstairs on a regular basis or falling down. Let me know when he falls off a bicycle. Let me know when he just loses his train of thought. midway through a conversation about 400 times over a 6-year span, and we can have that conversation. But when Donald Trump comes out and he just answers questions from the media for like an hour at a time, or he goes into hostile interviews with no prep on a regular basis and handles all the questions, and there's not any editing or selective editing or helpful questions or softballs going at him. Whenever he shows symptoms, we'll look into it. I'll happily look into it, Joy Behar. But you cannot excuse your refusal to acknowledge Joe Biden's decline because you think Trump is literally Hitler. Defend Joe Biden without bringing up Trump. You can't do it. Oh, I love hearing their excuses because they act like, why didn't anybody tell us? You're a sentient adult. Why would anybody need to tell you when everybody there are homeless people who could see that this guy was off his rocker. There were toothless people in trailer parks that were like, Joe Biden's really lost a step or two there. You're the only ones who didn't see it. And I have a hard time believing you didn't really see it. Oh, man, I just love that. Where was everybody? Why didn't somebody tell us? What, are you incapable of independent thought? You can only repeat things that you've been told are true? You can't make these like discernments yourself? That's adorable. Nobody believes it. You're a hack. You're just as dishonest as all the hacks that were in his inner circle lying about his well-being, because we all saw it. No one is exonerated from saying Biden didn't have a mental decline. You're just as guilty as they are, Whoopi. We all saw it. Maybe you're just really dumb. All right, the next James Show meetup is happening right after Labor Day. Day after Labor Day, it's this coming Tuesday, May 27th. We're going to be at Manny G's in Keller. Get the word out. Start telling your friends. Make some Facebook posts if you know anyone else who loves the James Show or WBAP. And you Fort Worth people who gripe, I've had some people specifically from Keller say, when are you going to have an event over here? Well, it's coming Tuesday. So come on out and say hi. There's not going to be anything. We're not doing trivia night. We're not doing karaoke. I'm not going to do my regular old tap dance routine like I normally do. We're just going to hang out and have a couple of adult beverages and just chitty chat like people hanging out at a bar. So come on out, meet me, say hi, meet some other James Show listeners, and make some new friends. We'll have some fun coming up Tuesday. Manny G's, Keller. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, I'm about to get out of here, go put up the podcast. You can find it at WBAP.com and the WBAP app. And listen, I know you have a tendency to listen live or listen to the podcast through other people's apps. And I don't mind if you do, but really, download the WBAP app. Number one, it's free, so there's no complaints about it's onerous or cost effective or I can't do another subscription or I don't want to pay for it or there's a paywall or anything. It's absolutely free. And it's important because if you listen to WBAP live when you stream it on your phone through the WBAP app or listen to the podcast through the WBAP app, you hear our commercials. And the people that give up thousands of their own dollars to advertise on WBAP and keep this whole operation free for you, you need to hear their commercials. They need to be rewarded for paying for this. The reason it's free is because of them. The reason why you don't have to pay a cent for a subscription or a paywall or anything is because of them. So reward them for making sure that this is free for you, or it won't be free forever. We'll either go away or start charging you for it. So download the WBAP app and start making that part of your regular listening experience. That's the best gift you can do for me this weekend. All right, go out, have a good, safe Memorial Day weekend. I will be doing a live show on Monday, and as part of our Memorial Day spectacular, I want to hear the stories of the veterans in your life who gave the ultimate sacrifice in war. You can either send me the story now in an email, james@wbap.com, or a Facebook message, or you can call in on Monday's show. I will be live, and I want to get in as many of those stories as possible on a Memorial Day spectacular. Coming up next, Mark Levin on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Thank you, Garrett. Later, dude.